David the Dog Trainer podcast, episode 25. Here we are. Here with Josh Dobey in his pineapple shirt.
Hello. Listen, you said Island Vibes.
I like it.
I've been killing it.
It's a good shirt.
Yeah.
What's
Did you bring my miracle shirt?
No, not yet. I gotta do it. I'll bring it next time. I forgot.
I'm gonna task Matt to bug you about it every day and
Have him hide it in my car so that it's just there.
Yeah, you had one on your dash for like
It's
weeks.
still there on my dash. That one is for Brittany. It's Brittany's miracle shirt.
You see where you lie in the hierarchy of friendship, Brittany?
I know. Look at this. All right, here we are. We got all sorts of things to talk about and do today. Today we're going to be talking about puppies.
Ooh.
Today we're going to be talking about, got a couple questions in the old message section.
There we go.
We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. Josh, what's new?
Oh, not much. Yesterday I had a migraine.
I saw that.
That was awful.
Yeah?
It was debilitating.
Yeah.
I woke up like 9. I was like, no, can't do it. Woke back up at 5:30.
Oof.
Yeah, and that was terrible because then last night I could not go to sleep because
Yeah, that's rough.
I slept forever. But went over to Cloak and Dagger Tuesday.
Patio looks sweet.
Dude, it's really nice.
I went there last Friday.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the patio wasn't done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, they went a lot bigger than I thought, though. They went.
It is pretty big. I mean, they made it as big as you can make it, I think.
Yeah, they went right up to the road. I didn't know they
Yeah.
were going to do that.
So what do they got to finish the fence then still, and that's it?
Yeah, they're doing like just like a wire cable through it,
Yeah.
and then they're not doing any kind of gate. It'll just be open, but they were going to do like patio furniture kind of stuff, like lounge area, but
I'm not into that.
yeah, they
It
decided
gets
against
dirty
it.
really easily. I'll be honest, when I go places that have the patio furniture, I typically don't want to sit on it because like I feel like the cushions and everything just like attract like moisture and gross.
Yeah,
Like I want clean, easy to hose off patio furniture.
yeah, and I think they were just doing that for they thought about it for the aesthetic of
Sure.
what it is,
Yeah.
But yeah, they just went with the tables, and
I think they look nice.
Yeah,
I think that's what people want somewhere like that.
Yeah, and they put string lights up, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back there probably next week or the week after and try to get like a dusk photo of it,
Yeah.
just the red sky and the lights on.
Yeah.
But
They got a little competition popping up. Did you see the new spotted owl space?
I haven't seen it yet. I saw a lot of people went to it though when they reopened it.
It's
or
called
whatever.
like 3 Palms at the Spotted Owl or something like that.
Yeah,
It looks pretty cool. They made and listen, that place has so much money behind them. They could do whatever they want.
yeah,
But they made this like courtyard space that's got like full on lounge chairs and like it feels like you're sitting around like a pool and stuff and like pool beverage cocktail kind of things and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks pretty sweet.
well, that's awesome.
So let's see what happens with this.
They have a Columbus location too.
I don't know about a Columbus one. They got an Akron one.
Akron, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it is. I knew that it was somewhere else.
Yeah.
I feel like that one doesn't get very much hype.
I don't know. It just opened, I think, like right before the pandemic, if I'm not mistaken.
So they had perfect timing then, basically.
Well, that used to be like the cocktail place in Cleveland. I think Cloak and Dagger's opening was timed perfectly because they were closed through everything. So Cloak and Dagger was the only place in Tremont that was doing fancy cocktails like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like designated cocktail bar specifically.
Yeah.
So I think that was really good timing on their end, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I think that worked out in their favor a lot. I did used to like Spotted Owl a lot, but they are so freaking expensive. Like it's like $16 a cocktail kind of thing there, and I don't know. They're kind of pretentious.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing about Cloak is because they're like a medium. Like you can go there, have 2 or 3 cocktails for probably the same price as having 1 or maybe 2.
Yeah, I think
get more
cloaks are
quality.
like around $10 or so.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's not as bad.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that they were able to do the patio because that's gonna.
I think that's going to create a lot because it's a dark space right there. And I think like if you go during the day, like on a nice summer day, like I don't want to sit inside a dark place on a summer day.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a really cool, it's shaded, that big tree right there and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a cool spot for sure.
Oh yeah. and and the fact that they got like the city of Tremont to let them put a patio like on the sacred Lincoln Park, square.
Yeah, I think that's gonna work out really well for them. It's a great location right there. So I didn't even think about that. Like looking over like Lincoln Park and stuff.
Yeah, in the evening, like
it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be a vibe.
Ambiance.
It's gonna be a vibe.
It's got the ambiance.
Stick a Christmas tree out there during Christmas. Call it a day. I like it.
Of course, you would say something about a Christmas tree.
What else is new?
Well, I did my mass email and trying to give people some free stuff to give back, and nobody responded to me.
Ungrateful restaurants. Unbelievable. Get out of here.
Yeah. Like I was saying to you earlier, I think a lot of them have social media managers, and they took it as like a threat to their well-being. And that's not the case. Like, I want to give you content that you can post for them.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking to do. Like, I think that's a weird, I don't know, crossroads I'm at right now, is that a lot of these places, well, they have like these social media managements or whatever, companies doing their stuff, and it's usually this person that has a cell phone. They take their picture, but they're like, I'll post 3 times a week for you, and I'll come in, blah blah blah. But so I don't know if I need to start doing that, which was, I guess, a question I should pose to you. Like, is that something?
Wait. Are you talking like actually manage people's social media channels?
Yeah.
It's a hard one, right? So, like, listen, I mean, that's what Paige is doing right now, right? And that's, I think, man, that is something that's valuable to a business, is if you understand how to develop a platform for somebody, and in addition to that, can provide really, really good content for it. This is the whole conversation about, I used to have a lot of friends and stuff that worked in, say, marketing agencies, right? And they would do like, an agency would have, tons of clients, right? You would be in charge of 10, 15 different people's websites, or this or that, whatever, And, it's always this struggle for people that work in that environment of, do you want the fast-paced agency life of like you just provide for everybody and you're kind of that independent person, right? That's providing your service to multiple people, or do you want to get in that situation where you work internally and you like, so let's say hypothetically Cloak and Dagger. Let's say hypothetically they said, listen, I'm going to pay you $45,000 a year to work for us exclusively, and you're going to do all of our video and all of our photo, and you're going to develop the social media channels and this and that, blah, blah, right? And it's more stable, I think, right? And it's more focused. So I think the benefit of doing that is because you're working for the same person all the time, you're going to understand that business more deeply, and you're going to be able to provide a higher level of content for them because you'll understand their business more deeply. Yeah. Right? And I think, like I said, from a business owner standpoint, it's more valuable to the business owner having that as opposed to needing to commission somebody for this, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Right? And that's why we're at a place where, like I said, that's what we did with Paige. We brought Paige in. She works internally for us, and she's still got her side things she does, right? Which is all great and stuff like that. But she works full-time for us, generating content, editing things, getting everything posted, all that stuff. And now we're at a point where, like I said, we're starting to build a team for it, right? So, like, obviously you do the podcast, right? And, like, we talked about this. We're moving the podcast to the Miracle Canine Training YouTube page, right? So we can kind of start really developing this team of media creators for Miracle Canine Training, right? So we have that. We have you handling podcast, and then like some of the YouTube related stuff, obviously. And then we just hired Paige, an assistant, to be able to generate content so that she could be the creative that she is, right? Because here's the thing, like you then start looking at, okay, cool. Is it worth her time to sit in a lesson for 2 hours and hold a camera just to capture video, or is it worth her time to be a creative and take all of those pieces of content that everybody else is getting, edit them and put her creative spin on them, and then get those distributed to where they need to go, Distribute. I say that word wrong all the time. So that's kind of, that's the thing that I've always been interested in personally. I don't think it's sustainable for a business to just hire a person independently, like time after time after time after time again, right? I think it's more sustainable to have it be kind of a mutual, this benefits both of us kind of thing, and have, have somebody more internal with that kind of stuff that's going to be able to do that, and then develop, like I said, that team to be able to have everybody's skill set where it needs to be. So I don't know. Now, here's the thing, though. You also have to ask yourself, is that what you want?
Yeah.
Because that's the other side of the equation is, I think there are some creatives that are okay with that, and there are some that want to like see different things and do different things and have their hands on like a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
I don't know. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
It's more of a personal thing, I think, because just like there's agencies and there's companies that have people internally that do that kind of stuff from a marketing standpoint or a social media standpoint or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? They're both successful.
Yeah.
It's just what is for you.
Yeah. Well, I was this podcast. I don't know. It's called Black with No Cream. It's like a photographer podcast, which they always talk about consistency, but they haven't posted since December of last year. But I was just listening to one, and it was about retainers.
Sure.
But it was like this for me is a retainer. It's like you're a consistent
thing.
Yeah. And I'm starting to think, because I have that with Cloak kind of. Well, more with Corey because he has me come and do Mayhall's stuff too. But it's like, I feel like I need another one or two of those.
Sure.
And because
that's the stability though, and that's where I think some people like that stability in like the job security, right?
Yeah.
Like where if you have, say, every month I get X from this place, every month I get X from this place, and an agreed upon terms of what all that entails, like you're still being commissioned out, but it's steady at least,
Exactly. And it's like they were saying on there, it's like, okay, so you have this, and you're like, okay, this has my rent paid, and this has my food bill, and now you can focus on the rest of your stuff. When you're doing this, like 2 to 3 days out of the week, now you still have those 4 days to do the things you want to do,
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, it wouldn't be that bad as for restaurants because I've been in and around. Like I could do a restaurant social media easy.
Sure.
But I think to your point is, that's not really exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I think especially with Nuevo, I talked to their, I don't know what director of, marketing or whatever they have now.
Sure.
Because they have like 5 different things under their belt. But she was talking to me last night. She's just like, I have all these plans. Like, I'd love to talk to you, sit down, and talk with you. So I think that's one that, I'm going to approach with and be like, listen, I think we could mutually benefit from each other by doing a long-term.
Well, it's interesting. We talked about, virtually every podcast we've done so far, the idea that, you have, though you don't have like tons and tons and tons of different clients, what you do have is you have really strong relationships with a couple clients that you do have.
Yeah.
Right? Like Cloak and Dagger, obviously here, Nuevo potentially, these types of things, right? You've any of these like jobs you've done, you've like knocked out of the park with it. So you've developed a really strong relationship with those people where you could start to then come up with things to present to them, right? And a lot of this comes down to, that independent contractor life or starting a business or any of those types of things. There's so much of that kind of hustle and grind with it. Yeah. Where you start getting creative. And it's like, okay, cool. If that's what you're looking for, it's like, all right, cool. I'm going to make a presentation of, hey, this is what I can provide for you. I could provide one formal shoot a month. I can provide one video per month and one, I don't know, whatever, like time where I come there and just do stories for the day for you or whatever, like some sort of presentation and proposal of this is what I can do. This is what I can do it for. So this will cost you $500 a month, right? Or whatever,
Yeah.
And these are the hours that I could work within for it, right? And then you start saying, hey, here, check this out. This is what I think I could do for you. This is how this would benefit for you. This is what all would be included with it. Is this something you'd be interested in talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making a structured plan would be really nice.
But I think with stuff like that, because dude, I mean, listen, like, we've been working together doing media stuff for a while now. And I think that in the dog training world, at least, I think I was a little early on starting to like invest a lot in media, but it's still a new thing for a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of them don't really realize what all can be included with it. And they just look at this as like, I just hired a photographer to use for this one thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to realizing that media is not a one-time thing, right? Media is a long-term investment you need to make in your business. And having you start structuring out where it's more of a monthly kind of commission-based thing as opposed to a one-time kind of thing, like as needed, I think we'll start showing them the value in it a little bit more. And frankly, it would be cheaper for them to build that into their budget than to build in a bunch of single one-time things. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And back to your point is like, not tooting my own horn that I knock it out of the park with the ones that I have, but it makes me like, especially with how everything's been going with Nuevo, it's like, if I could, that was the whole big thing about sending all these like emails out and giving back. It's like, if I just get in to their doors and do
it's the hardest
one
part
thing for them. Yeah.
It's the hardest part.
But it's not retaining people. Yeah. That's my problem. It's getting in the door with them. But as soon as I get in there, they usually understand, like, oh shit.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this is great. This is better than what we would have expected it to be, right? Because that's frankly it. Because I think most industries, right, dog training is a good one as well. Like, until you get in and see what all can be accomplished, right, like you don't understand the value in it as well.
Yeah.
And that's why we put out so much media is to help people understand the value better, right?
Yeah.
So that's so much of the game. And dude, man, it's such a hard game. I remember, anytime there's been people that I've really wanted to work with, right? Same deal, like reaching out to them, DMs, emails, this, that. Hey, I'd love to train your dog, whether I'm going to give you a discount or do it for free or swap dog training for promotional advertisement or whatever it may be. So the hardest part is getting people to we talked about this, getting people to not see it as scammy, right?
Yeah.
And getting them to see it as like, listen, this can actually mutually benefit both of us right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And, some people are aware of that, some people aren't. A good point Matt brought up the other day when I was talking to him about it is he's like, how many restaurants do you think actually have, like, decision makers running their Instagram page? Probably none, Which is why he was saying, you really should start, like, just walking into some of these places with, like, a little portfolio. Be like, hey, this is some of the work I do. This is what I'd like to provide you. Is there somebody I could talk to about this? You know? Like if you're really interested in certain companies or whatever it may be, that's probably almost got to be the move.
It seems like it at this point after
persistence. And that's that kind of fucking, like I said, that's that hustle and grind.
Yeah.
Right. That's that, like, if you want something, you got to go through all the hard shit to get there and see what's going to work and what's not going to work.
I think I think it actually scares me.
Sure.
That I sent 31 DMs, right?
Yep.
2 of them have been seen.
Sure.
How do you do that as a business? Like that shows you.
That's a great point.
Like especially a restaurant right now.
Sure.
You should be on every single DM,
you can't
email,
miss that
comment.
shit. Listen, DM, comment, that's how people communicate now.
Yeah.
Right? That's how that world works. And that's why, again, like we talked about, like one of our new media assistant that we're getting in, right? She's going to start handling a lot of the correspondence via social media because I can't get it in a timely enough fashion. I've got fucking, 8 emails, 103 notifications on social media, and 8 text messages right now. My priority has always been emails and text messages.
Yeah.
Social media always comes second because these are direct correspondence with clients that I need to hit. But guess what? These 103 are as well.
Yeah.
Right? But because there's so many more of it and so much more engagement and socialness on the social media, right? We have to emphasize that just as heavily, right?
Yeah.
How many times does somebody write in the comments, wow, this is really awesome. I'd love to learn more about this. Boom, DM, here's a link to our website, right?
Yeah.
Like those are all potential sales and potential clients that we could have. So you get, it's so important and people don't realize it. And you're right. How long? It's been a week, right? Since you sent those messages out. Over a week, I think, right? And 3 of them saw it? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Let's see. Here's where it started. Yeah. Magic City Brewing, Bar 32, and Red Steakhouse.
Crazy.
Are the only ones that have seen, and then they didn't say anything back. But yeah. We're talking like big ones too. Like Marble Room, never saw it.
Yeah.
Butcher and Brewer, didn't see it. Like, these are big companies.
Big companies that should be more aware of what's going on.
Yeah. Dante still hasn't seen it.
Yep.
Thanks, Dante. And he's got a new restaurant coming out. And another sushi place.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, right on East 4th, actually, on the corner. I forget what it's called.
It's going to be called Ginkgo 2?
No, it's something different. It's like Geno.
Nice.
Like Geno, I think. But
yeah. It's a hard
weird
one. Like, I agree. Like, and this all corresponds and goes hand in hand to the conversation we had about people understanding, like, if they do have media people, right? That's their job to do that shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it should be if it's
Yeah.
not already. Like,
Yeah.
you have to do that. You have to.
Yeah. the least you could do is be like, sorry, we already have somebody or something. I don't know. Just give me some kind of response or.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the response, I'm more concerned about, like I said, the fact that people haven't even read it.
Yeah, I haven't even read it.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't even know what's sitting in their inbox right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild.
That is wild. So it's like, how many other things have
Yeah.
you missed opportunities on, you know?
Opportunities.
I mean,
Social media is full of opportunities.
remember when you used to answer all that?
What?
All the comments?
I still do. Yeah, I still do. That's why, like I said, I need somebody else to help with it. I still do. The problem is now I'm hitting it like every 3 days, you know, as opposed to every single day.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
because you drive yourself freaking bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, messages and DMs, like, we're pretty fast about replying to. Like, I don't think we have any unread DMs right now.
Yeah.
Like, in both my personal page as well as the business page, like, I got 3 in my personal one, 2 of which are questions for the podcast. One of them is a message from my chiropractor that I just need to get back to schedule. And then the only one from Miracle is somebody that reached out to us 41 minutes ago.
Okay.
So we're pretty quick about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Basically,
what we're saying is make sure you know the benefit of your social medias.
Sure thing. All right, we're going to move on here. What do we got here? Let's see. So today, like I said, we're going to start with a couple of these messages here, get into some of the questions, then we're going to start burning through this book. All right, let's find this first question. What do we got here? All right, first question.
All right.
It's from Sadie, Clark's owner. She said, hey, I have a podcast/general question. My dad lives down in Florida and adopted a dog last year. He's a 3-year-old, 85-pound Great Dane pit mix and definitely has some issues. Leash reactivity, issues with other dogs, issues with other people, barking, jumping, etc. After Clark's training, my dad found what seemed to be a similar program close to him, a 10-day e-collar board and train. 10 days is real fucking short for a board and train.
Yeah.
Real short. We'll talk about that in a minute here. My dad dropped him off in the morning, and the trainer called that afternoon for him to come back and pick him up. They said he did great at first with the collar, but in the afternoon, he got irritated and aggressive. So they thought he was too stressed for the board and train and that home lessons would be better. Personally, I think that is bullshit, and they just didn't know how to handle him. But I also know nothing, so I thought I'd ask for your opinion. The trainers have been out to his house for home lessons twice in 3 months. That's also ridiculous as well. There doesn't seem to be much guidance or support, and my dad seems really confused about what to do. Just comparing to Clark, his dog has zero structure in the house, almost never wore the e-collar, and I never saw correction despite him barking and growling at me and jumping on my dad and brother. They use the e-collar different, though. It's a neutral device, and the dog is stimulated on a low level when he does something wrong, but also when he does something right. I don't understand the logic of that, but grain of salt, since I'm just repeating what my dad said, and he was confused as well. I know you recently said to not seek out another trainer if you're seeing improvement, but I don't think there's been any improvement, and his dog seems to be doing some of the same behaviors Clark did before he started biting. I'm hoping my dad will just abandon this program now and drive him up to Cleveland, but I might be a little biased, both because you guys have been amazing with Clark, and since I had a bad experience with trainers taking a lot of money and not helping previously.
Oof. What a situation.
It is a situation. And here's the thing. This is what pisses me off, and this is why I talk about all the time. The dog training community is kind of bullshit sometimes.
Yeah.
Come on. Okay, listen. First off, let's go through and start listing the issues with this, right? First off, 10-day board and train. Get the fuck out of here. Especially if you're doing e-collar training. 10 days is such goddamn bullshit. Like that really pisses me off when I see stuff like this, right? The 1 week board and train, the 2 week board and train, stuff like that. Because here's the thing, right? Sure, maybe I could teach 1 or 2 things in 10 days, but I'm not going to be able to prove them to a fluent level. I'm not going to get a general overall approach on what's going on. And when you're dealing with a dog that's growling, biting, barking at people, stuff like that, we're not looking to just go in and address one thing. We need to address everything. We need to address the overall state of mind of the dog. And you're not going to be able to do that in 10 days. It's not going to happen. 2, the couple things you're going to need to teach, you leave yourself no wiggle room where if anything goes wrong, you're going to be able to adjust and like make it okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Which means that if things start going wrong, because you're going to be pressured where I have to get this done in 10 days, what you're going to do is you're going to wind up putting way too much pressure on the dog. You're going to stress the dog out more, and you're going to do things in like an improper way, what I would consider. Right?
Yeah.
2, let's see, going back through here. 10-day board and train, dropped him off in the afternoon, told him to come pick him up. He was getting aggressive and irritated. Of course he was. It's an aggressive dog that you're now starting to put structure and rules on. You should be prepared for that kind of stuff and know how to work through those things when they happen, right?
Yeah.
I have never in my life called somebody and said, hey, your dog's being really bad at this board and train program. I need you to come pick up your dog because I don't know what to do, right? Because here's what it is. You should know that that's how that works. When you're dealing with behavioral modification, because the root of the problem is the dog not liking having structure and rules, when you go to put structure and rules on the dog is not going to like it. The dog is going to push back.
Yeah.
Especially first 24 hours. First 24 hours, we'll see all sorts of different stressful behaviors and this and that, blah, blah, because that's a part of the acclimation process to the board and train program. And that's why we don't do 10-day programs to begin with.
Yep.
Second off, the fact that if you can't understand how to work through these things in a board and train format, you're not going to be able to work through these things in a one-on-one format, especially since in 2. Okay, so moving through here, right? Okay, so now they've only done 2 lessons in 3 months. That's ridiculous also.
Yeah.
And here's what probably happened. Now, again, I could be wrong. I'm sorry if I'm incorrect about this, and I'm not trying to berate this trainer specifically. This is generalized to all of these trainers out there that are doing work that they don't know what they're doing, essentially, right? So here's what probably happened. They signed the dog up for a 10-day program. They collected payment for it, whatever, $1,500, however much it cost, right? Hey, your dog's bad. We can't do it in a board and train. A one-on-one is going to be a better option, right? In actuality, the one-on-one is not the better option. They just can't do it in the board and train and need to have an alternative right now, right? They don't want to have to give the money back because they don't know what they're doing. So they're just like, oh, well, we'll just do one-on-one classes to help you. But because they actually don't know what they're doing, they're just like, yeah, we'll just kind of come out, and we'll come out one time and you still don't really know what you're doing, right? So the dog is still bad. And then they wait 3 months before they come out for the next one because they don't know what they're doing, right? And then it repeats the cycle. And then what happens is after 4 months of doing 2 one-on-one lessons, 5 months of doing 2 one-on-one lessons, the owner just chalks it up as a fail. And they're like, well, I lost my money. I didn't get anything at this point.
Yeah.
Right? This is the scummy part of the dog training industry, right? If you don't know how to help this owner with stuff, if you don't know how to help the owner with this kind of stuff, you need to just not do it, right?
Yeah.
Or you need to accept, this is not the right dog for our program. You could even say it that way. You don't even have to say, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not the right dog for our program. I'd love for you to find somebody that specializes in this stuff more. Here's your money back. Or listen, here's the thing. Here's a prorated rate back for the 3 days that your dog stayed with us, right? Sure, take money for the 3 days if you want, and then you could chalk that up as a loss, and I would say that that's okay as well.
Yep.
Right? But don't just go in and be like,
try it.
Let's just, we're just going to try to switch to these, whatever. Owner's confused, obviously, because the trainer's not giving them any correct guidance. As far as the e-collar use, then, we start getting into it's used as a neutral device. The e-collar is not a neutral device. We've talked about this numerous times. The reason why the e-collar works is because it's something that the dog perceives as aversive, right? That is the only reason why it will ever work. It will never work another way.
Yeah.
right?
It's not a neutral thing.
So we've talked about this before, the ways you use the e-collar. We have negative reinforcement, which is our continuous pressure, with the release of pressure, which is used for teaching. We are trying to increase the likelihood of a behavior, right? So we're teaching sit, we engage the e-collar, dog sits down, we release the e-collar. That release of pressure tells the dog that sit is correct. Keep doing that, right? Then we have positive punishment, which we implement a high-level correction in order to stop a behavior. So now they're using this neutral sensation for when the dog is doing something wrong and when the dog is doing something right. That's also very incorrect, unless they're trying to like, oh, the dog's jumping, stim it, and when the dog stops jumping, release it, which would mean that you're teaching being on the ground, which is a whole nother conversation of getting into teaching alternative behaviors as a way to stop behaviors, which is virtually ineffective. Right? So we got all sorts of confusing things going on here. And when I read messages like this, like I said, just frustrates me because the first step of dog training is having your program laid out in a way that, one, it's going to be successful, and two, it's going to be able to explain things clearly to owners. Now, I'm not relinquishing all responsibility from Sadie's dad here. Like, he may not have been listening or not understand the things that they told, but here's the thing. They also only did 2 sessions in 3 months.
Yeah. So
how is he supposed to understand any of this stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's...
When the dog probably has no idea still.
So I don't know. I mean, this stuff is frustrating.
Yeah.
Right? Because this happens all the time in the dog training world, and we get clients all the time that this happens to, right? This is why, like I said, when people come in, there are trainers out there that are like, this dog's been to 5 other trainers that couldn't help him, and we're the 17th trainer now working with this dog, and we're going to get it right. And it's like, listen, I'm glad that they're finding me, and I'm glad that I'm going to be able to stop that pattern and be able to help them out, in this type of situation. But, right, the fact that the person had to go through 5 different programs beforehand and had to pay 5 people money for something that they didn't get help with is a serious problem.
Yes.
Right? That is scammy. That is scummy. Right?
Yeah.
Listen, again, I'm not saying we've never worked with dogs before that they had limitations that we couldn't get them exactly where the owner wanted to, but we have always stood behind our work and provided every ounce of support that we can to make sure that we're helping as best as we can move those dogs in the right direction constantly, right? And that's all that I can say. I'm not saying we're the best out there, but I'm saying that we stand behind our work. Right. Yeah. And this clearly is not the case with these people. So, Sadie, sorry to hear about that. That's a rough situation to be in for your dad. So, if he is interested in bringing the dog up to good old Cleveland, I'd be happy to discuss a plan for how we can make that successful. And I would be happy to discuss some options as far as how we can make this cost effective for him as well, since he's already had to do this with somebody else before. So let me know if you'd like to chat.
Either way, you can step on that trainer's toes.
Yeah.
Because, come on.
Oh, yeah. Because that was the root of the question is if you're seeing progress, don't find another trainer. Yeah, this person is not seeing progress, right?
0.
Like I said, I think, and I could be wrong, that this trainer doesn't know what they're doing and they're trying to kind of ease out of it without needing to give a refund.
Yes.
This is my question. So, next question. This one is from Melissa Figgis. SOS, I have a podcast question.
Love it.
All right. Our new pup, Moo, has discovered an extremely not cool game of getting a running start and sprinting into Finn's head. I try to let them do their thing when socializing. Let Finn grumble at her, but I'm worried she's going to actually hurt him. He has a generally achy back. Is it reasonable to correct her for the WWE style running start clothesline? I know she's just being a goofy puppy, but have a vested interest in keeping Finn's head affixed to his body.
Is the dog's name's Moo?
Moo.
I like it.
M-O-O. Great question.
Yes.
All right, so I dealt with something very similar to this when I first got Vinny, where Vera, when we were in a large open field or something, would from like 60 feet away just stop and stare at Vinny and then just full on fucking charge full speed at him and just body check the shit out of him. Like to the point, Vinny was like yelping, like, ah! Like, she was hitting him hard as fuck. Wasn't playing any games there. I mean, he's probably got a concussion. That's probably why he's such a weirdo now. It's from that.
Getting tackled by Vera.
Yeah. So listen, we talk about this all the time with socialization. The idea of letting things slide for the most part, kind of, bobbing and weaving with letting them communicate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You hit a point, though, where the socialization, whether it's because it's annoying you or because it's becoming unsafe, has to be told, chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? With Vera, I corrected her real firmly with the e-collar for doing that. With your dog, I would recommend that you do the same. There are times, and then outside of just situations like that, like I said, if it's just annoying you, it's okay to stop socialization, right? So if in the house, I typically don't allow a lot of roughhousing in the house with my dogs. If they start roughhousing with each other, I'm going to correct them for it because I want them to realize that happens pretty much just outside. Right? I don't really want you guys doing that. I want you guys staying calm in here so that my living room doesn't turn into a jungle gym, right? So that's some of it, right? The other side of the equation is ultimately, even though we want our dogs to develop a relationship with each other and we want our dogs to learn how to communicate effectively with each other and figure out their social hierarchy and all this kind of stuff, our dogs still have to realize that we are the top of that food chain still, right? We are still the alpha. If you want to call it that. We're still head honcho in the house, right?
Yeah.
And that means that I still am going to communicate when you're being too much, when you're being too much, when you're being too much. Mm-hmm. Yes, most social issues, I think, stem from owners micromanaging too much, but there will always be times we need to step in and teach dogs to chill out a little bit. So I have no problem if you get Moo corrected for this and you get this behavior stopped so that you're not going to have any problems with it moving forward. So, yeah, no more clotheslining. No more the people's hammer. Is that what it was called? The people's elbow. No more the people's elbow. No more suplexing. I was never a big wrestling fan growing up. I never watched a lot of it. I was a little too young for it. I think wrestling was really popular in the early 90s. So like most of my friends' older brothers and stuff were very into it. Yeah. But I think it started kind of tapering out like the end of the 90s and early 2000s and stuff. And pretty much just like the diehards watched it at that point, I think.
Yeah. I mean, after Stone Cold and The Rock and all of them kind of backed off, it's lost its luster.
Yeah, now we just got Can't See Me.
Oh, God.
Good question. Hope that helps. All right, so those are our 2 questions of the day. Thank you for asking them. Continue asking them, please. All right, so what I want to do today, last week we finished reading through The Good Dog Way, Love Them by Leading Them by Sean O'Shea. That was our 3rd reading of the book. Obviously, we skipped through a bunch of stuff, but for the most part, we covered a lot of really good concepts of it, and I think we gave people a pretty solid taste of the book, which is cool, right? There's not a whole lot more to it aside from what we kind of went through. He gets into different topics and stuff, but it's all broken up in that manner. So next book I want to start going through, because we got tons of different dog training books that I think are very good and ones that have been very influential on my dog training career and upbringing, right? Yeah. So I get asked a lot about puppies, right? So in the type of training that we do, a lot of our focus is behavioral cases, right? We do a lot of behavioral modification, aggression work, anxiety work, fear work, dog aggression issues, all sorts of different things like that. And most of it stems from an older dog, right? A dog typically, I would say the common age we get is between 1.5 years and like 4 years old, right? Because what happens is as that dog hits maturity, all of those little things that may have been minor or may have been things that you would have kind of overlooked pretty easily really, really kind of blow up. And they come to light as the dog gets matured, and they start becoming significantly worse and worse and worse. So that's when people start coming to us. And the concept I talk about very regularly is we offer a puppy program, obviously. And the benefit to starting your dog at a young age is most of these issues that come in we could kind of predict to some extent with a younger dog, right? A lot of dogs that are going to develop really intense food aggression issues or dog aggression issues or human aggression issues, you're going to see some very telltale signs of that at a young age. And though some of that could be due to poor breeding, some of that could be due to poor genetics, some of that also, actually most of that has to do with us not understanding those signs the dog are giving us at a young age and us not understanding how to then look at that individual dog and look at that individual dog's issues that they're having and understand how to put them in situations more effectively to avoid these problems, right? I'm not saying if you train your dog as a puppy, you're not going to have issues later on. That's unrealistic, right? Because like I said, a lot of this is genetic that is causing the fear, causing the anxiety or the aggression, right? But if you train your dog at a young age, you could sidestep a lot of this stuff and you can manage these issues so that when the dog does hit maturity, they're not going to become serious problems. They may become annoying or they may be things you need to be more aware about or do a little further training and stuff, but it's not going to become the huge issue that, we see them turn into time and time and time again, right? So with the conversation of puppies, there's a phenomenal book out there. It's by the Monks of New Skete, and it's called The Art of Raising a Puppy. This is a revised and updated version of it. This book is, I don't know when it was originally published, but it's a pretty old book. Let's see. Well, this version was revised in 2011. The original... Hang on, let me find this here because I'm curious now.
Is this that group from Chicago?
No, kind of.
Kind of, okay.
Kind of. The Art of Raising a Puppy. Jesus. Originally published in March 20th, 1990.
Wow.
It's an old book. Yeah. Okay, so the Monks of New Skete are a group based out of upstate New York. Oh. It is a monastery up there, right? Okay. And basically, they have kind of coined themselves as a dog training and breeding group, right? So they breed German Shepherds and they train dogs for people. There's a lot of backstory and history as far as how they got into it that we're not going to get into right now, obviously, but they're a very, very interesting group, right? And I think a lot of it, if I'm not mistaken, stemmed from, when they were doing their work up there, a lot of them had companion animals, right? And they lived a very secluded life with these dogs, and they trained them, and they existed with them, and they lived this very just natural life with them, right? And they started developing kind of a look that they knew what they were doing with dogs. So they started training dogs, they started accepting clients, they got into breeding German Shepherds, all this kind of stuff, right? And created essentially a really great program, right? And they've written numerous books now at this point. I think they have like 5 or 6 out that are all phenomenal. Some of them were co-wrote by a guy named Mark Goldberg, who I talk about a lot, who is out in Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And essentially they do seminars together. They're very close with each other. And they do, like I said, very, very phenomenal work with dogs. So anyways, this book, I remember when I first read it, was so influential because it kind of, a lot of this stuff stems from that idea of some of the Caesar stuff we discuss and everything. It stems from this organic, like, how do we live with these dogs? What's a proper approach we can take to socializing them and avoiding problems and understanding and respecting the dog within all of these dogs, right? So what I want to do is we're going to start going through this. There's some cool sections in it that I want to discuss. We're going to start with just the intro to the book, and then we're going to skip ahead about halfway into the book to the parts where they start discussing bringing a new puppy into the home and actually training the puppy. Right? Okay. So, this is The Art of Raising a Puppy. Copyright 1991.
Man.
It's old, man.
And it still holds the test of time, huh?
Holds the test of time. It's a good one. All right, introductions. Monasteries are not as otherworldly as you might imagine. If they appear secluded and removed from the mainstream of society's activity, it is only because they attempt to create a climate that fosters an authentic engagement with life at its most profound and human level, something often lost amid the noise and distraction of today's world. When we are quiet enough, freed from all our inner noise and chatter, we could see with new respect the natural beauty and wisdom of the world around us and appreciate our ties to it. Such perspective, silence, such Oh my God. Perceptive silence opens up our lives to healthy reverence and awe for all things. It creates a capacity for acceptance that is both humanizing and life-giving. So what does all this have to do with raising a puppy? A great deal, we believe. Our monastery is set in a quiet rural area in upper New York State. For more than 40 years, as part of an effort to support ourselves, we have been actively involved in the breeding and raising of German Shepherd dogs. We have also operated a training program that is open to dogs of all breeds. During this time, we've worked closely with numerous professional breeders, trainers, and veterinarians to deepen our understanding of all facets of canine care. We have learned that our monastic environment offers as a unique perspective. Here we are forced to re-examine our attitudes about everything, including dogs. We are constantly challenged to become more open to the language dogs use to communicate with us. This experience confirms our deepest intuitions about the relationship of human beings, not only with their dogs, but with every aspect of the world in which they live. In our book, How to Be Your Dog's Best Friend, we took what we had learned about dog behavior and training and made it available to other people and their dogs in the varied and diverse environment in which they live. We help to foster in our readers a more realistic understanding of their dogs and an increased awareness of the benefits of canine companionship. Drawing on our own experience here at New Skete, we described how dog training actually goes far beyond the elementary instruction of basic obedience commands. It must encompass a whole new attitude and lifestyle with your dog. It must touch on the levels of a dog's life that have often been ignored. This is why we explored the broader issue of companionship itself. We still firmly believe in this approach, and the years since the publication of our first book have deepened our understanding and commitment to the principles we discussed here. We continue to be energetically involved in the breeding of healthier, sounder German Shepherds, as well as in working with owners of many breeds on a training basis. These are demanding tasks, and the fact that we are a close-knit community permits us to pay careful attention to those concerns and learn from them. But we still see that, elsewhere, ignorance on a vast scale continues to make dogs the victims of human thoughtlessness and abuse. As anyone seriously involved in the field knows, working with dogs and their owners is a bittersweet experience. It regularly forces us to witness the collision of philosophy and reality. The remarkable little puppy, so filled with the capacity for life and companionship one week, can easily become an incontinent, destructive, and hyperactive annoyance the next. We have seen this happen repeatedly. Poor management all too often leads to irritating or even dangerous behavior problems that quickly sever the human-dog bond before it ever has a chance to develop. While most of the dogs we deal with are intelligent, happy, and well-adjusted, some are not. Every day we encounter dogs who have serious behavioral problems and for whom obedience training has been described as the last chance. Usually they clearly manifest signs of a bad start in life. Poor breeding, limited handling and socialization as puppies, the lack of owner understanding concerning the importance of proper diet, exercise, discipline, and obedience training. As we work with these cases, we cannot help being convinced that most of these dogs, had they been treated more carefully and intelligently as puppies, would never have developed the problems that now beset them and their owners. If we look honest at the way many people manage their dogs today, we are faced with a staggering reflection of irresponsibility and lack of compassion. It is difficult to refer to a dog as man's best friend when more than 6 million unwanted adult dogs and puppies are euthanized every year. We are not speaking here of the humane killing of animals done out of a sense of responsible stewardship, but of the massive human negligence that leads to euthanasia. For those who doubt the serious implications of this situation, a trip to the local animal shelter can be a real eye-opener. We recall one client who dismissed our advice about spaying her female shepherd, explaining she felt it was important for her children to have the experience of seeing puppies born. When we asked her how she intended to care for and give homes to the puppies, she responded that she really had not thought about it at all, and that she would probably leave them at the local humane society when it was time for them to be weaned. We then asked her what value such an experience would have if the principal lesson her children would learn is that puppies are cute little playthings who, when sufficiently used, may be then conveniently disposed of. Fortunately, our questioning convinced her in her faulty thinking, and she left with a new respect for the implications of bringing puppies into the world.
Damn.
Dude, this is, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
in our view, the dog is not a possession, a personal commodity to be used solely for our own amusement or ego gratification. Rather, he is a living, autonomous, yet highly social, pack-oriented creature who has an amazing capacity for companionship and love. Your role in determining your connection with your own dog is a vital one. Capacity is precisely that, a natural potential. A good relationship with your dog can be established only if there is an enlightened commitment to working with his proven needs, instincts, behavior patterns, and yes, capacities. We know numerous trainers and animal behaviorists whose dedication and talents have helped many problem dogs change their behavior, enabling them to live happy and safe lives with their owners. Often in such cases, owners find themselves changed as well. Nevertheless, it makes sense to avert behavior problems before they begin. We have found that untangling these issues is a long and difficult process, requiring lots of time and energy, and often a large financial investment. When faced with this prospect, many owners choose simply to give up their dog or else take the risk of trying to control the problem without precise and intensive retraining. Fortunate indeed is the problem dog whose owner goes the extra mile in trying to solve his particular issue. The key to developing a healthy, rewarding relationship with your dog lies in getting off to a good start in puppyhood. There is an art to raising a puppy that is not solely the domain of the naturally gifted. It can be acquired by any responsible owner. What is needed is the desire for true companionship, an openness to learning, and a willingness to invest time and energy in caring for and training the puppy. The more informed you are on the background, development, and training of your pup, the more you will approach him with the patience and understanding necessary for an enjoyable and rewarding relationship. That is why we originally wrote this book, and why we are grateful for the opportunity to bring out this new 20th anniversary edition. We remain passionate about the puppy rearing issues, and while there have been positive strides made over the past 2 decades, there is still plenty of ignorance. Puppy mills continue to be big business, and often new dog owners have very romantic notions of what adopting a puppy involves. Happily, within the dog training profession, there have been new insights that we believe will make raising and training a puppy a more successful and enjoyable experience. We have continued to learn over the years, and we feel privileged to share with our readers the ways in which our understanding has grown. Our hope is to provide an even clearer guide to raising a puppy that will sensitize and educate owners to the many possibilities present with their new or expected companion. We have found that when owners adopt their new puppy, they are rarely aware of just how much development and growth has already taken place in his life. They have only the most general idea of where he came from and lack of context from which to appreciate his true uniqueness. When owners begin to understand the early developmental stages of a puppy's life, they cultivate a sense of responsibility that is more clearly in keeping with the nature of human-dog relationship. Relating in a healthy way with their pup, owners will change as their puppy changes. They will grow as their puppy grows. The bond becomes enriching and genuinely transforming. In this book, we will bring you into our world here at New Skete, using our experience as the lens through which you may broaden your understanding of your pup. By taking you through the birthing process and the critical early stages of puppy development, we will show you how scientific knowledge is an integral part in the practical world of breeding and caring for a puppy. This background will help you understand the experiences your pup has had before arriving in your home. Later, we will look at practical aspects of adopting a puppy, including how to evaluate your own needs, choose the right breed, and prepare and train your pup. The stage will then be set for a balanced, lasting relationship between you and your best friend.
I already like it so far.
What do you think?
I really love that little part about the lady with the dog, like the wanting to have puppies, and then what are you gonna do with those puppies? Yeah,
I don't know.
I think there's a lot of people in this world that would benefit from hearing that.
Yeah, I mean it's just interesting, you know. We deal with a lot of clients that get like these like purebred dogs, right? And they don't want to get them spayed or neutered, you know. They're like, I don't know, maybe I'll breed them one day, right? We had a dog recently, just left a board and train, same deal. Very hyperactive, nervy, not very well-balanced dog, right? Unneutered, same deal, made the recommendation. You guys should probably neuter this dog. The son wants to breed him at some point, so he's not going to do that. Okay. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, the thing that I like so much about that introduction is it gets so into the nitty gritty of what owning a puppy really is like if you want to do it properly, right?
Yeah.
And it puts the torch in the hand of the owner as far as like it's up to you to take this seriously.
Yeah.
Because that's what it comes down to is you're either going to take this seriously or you're not going to take this seriously. And it's a hard balance, right? Because as a dog trainer, I understand how important it is to take this seriously. And I'm able to see the correlation between, like, most people say they love their dogs like they love children, right? This is my fur baby. This is this is that. But here's the thing. I would hope most people out there would do absolutely anything they could to make sure their child had the best upbringing possible, right? So if you love your dog as much as you love children, you should make sure that you do the same thing with that dog. But instead, the problem is this whole concept of our fur babies, and I got this cute little puppy and stuff like that. It's exactly like you said right here. They're accessories to people, right? It's the thing they could take out that gets them attention. It's the thing that helps them. It's the thing that provides them emotional support, blah, 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 right? And ultimately, it just turns into, wow, now because I've depended on my dog for all of these different things, I haven't provided them any of the things that they actually need. Then you get into the idea of finding the right dog for you, like they discussed. Like, there's an integral part of making sure this dog is going to fit your lifestyle the best, right? Time and time and time again, we see people get dogs that they shouldn't have because they want a certain thing out of a dog, but they are not in a position to be able to provide the things to this dog to make that dog be that, you know?
Yeah.
So there's just so much that goes into it that people need to start understanding better.
Yeah.
So,
We've talked about breeds and stuff before.
I think the other interesting thing with them, and this is going to be kind of the part that we actually skip in this book, but I usually recommend a lot of people, like if you're going to be getting a puppy anytime soon, you should buy and read this book before you get the dog, right? Because this is going to give you a lot of insight as far as like the first, I think it's 9 chapters of this book. The first 9 chapters go into the adolescence of the puppy, right? So the actual birth of the puppy through 8 weeks. So, so through when you would actually go and get the dog, everything that a good breeder should be doing with these puppies to make sure that they're being well balanced, well socialized, and starting off on the right foot. Right? And this is where you get into all these people that I want to breed my dog. And oh, wow, like we're going to find another female. We're going to breed them together. They don't realize how much goes into raising that 8-week-old puppy. You can't just stick it in a fucking box for 8 weeks and then sell it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not how it works. Or if it does work that way, that's why backyard breeders have such a bad name. And that's why these dogs wind up so fucked up. You know? Again, there's genetics at play. There's things that make it more or less likely for these behavioral issues to happen. But ultimately, there are things you could do to help mitigate that kind of stuff and work them through these fear periods that these have and the early socialization periods that they have and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really a fantastic book that I recommend everybody get and read. All right. So we're going to move into the first part of this. This is chapter 10. All right. So chapter 10, this is where we get into getting the dog and bringing the dog home. So let's start getting into it. I really got to figure out the best way to read and talk at the same time with this damn thing. I think this is better than it was, but still not perfect. All right. The day you go get your new puppy always has a bit of magic about it. It is the day of anticipation and excitement, dreams and possibilities, hopes and aspirations. Puppies have a way of reducing even the most serious adult to spontaneous displays of childlike delight. This is part of their charm. A puppy touches something very deep in us. And when we first hold one in our arms, it is easy to be swept away with blind enthusiasm. Who would suspect the challenge that awaits us? Dun, dun, dun.
Whew, the challenge.
Nevertheless, a puppy's magic is deceiving. Whether this day is truly blessed remains to be seen, and so we offer a word of caution. Enthusiasm is not grounded in reality, not supported by knowledge and understanding, has a way of fizzling when ordinary problems develop. Once the puppy passes the novelty stage, once he becomes a familiar part of your household, the true nature of the relationship becomes apparent. The second thoughts may arise. New owners can quickly lose interest. Always keep in mind that a sustained relationship requires a more substantial foundation than mere enthusiasm. Beyond the joy and emotion of getting a puppy, beyond the good feelings this new bundle of life inspires in us, lies a deeper, more profound reality that should be the anchor of any relationship with a dog. Adoption. Adopting a puppy means bringing him into the heart of your home, and developing a healthy relationship demands plenty of hard work and dedication from you, especially now at the beginning. The day you adopt a puppy begins a new phase in this existence, one rooted in his earliest experiences, yet now poised to take fresh expression in your life. How he develops now depends largely on you. The puppy is no longer the breeder's, no longer his mother's. Today he becomes your puppy, a new member of your family. And this means that you become parent, companion, pack leader, the puppy's closest friend. If this sounds sentimental or idealistic to you, think again. Canines are among the most sociable species in the animal kingdom, whereas a wolf pup is naturally integrated into the wider pack with his brothers and sisters. Your pup does not have that possibility. Instead, he adapts himself by establishing his closest social bonds with you and those who live with you, treating all of you as his fellow pack members. It is now up to you to teach this pup his proper role in the pack family, a process that begins the moment you adopt him. As we have seen over and over again, a puppy builds on previous experiences, and this is especially true in his first few days in your home. Good habits start from the beginning, planning ahead, taking the time and energy necessary to help your pup make a smooth transition to his new home. Increases the possibility that his good behavior will continue to develop into maturity. The opposite is also true. High amounts of stress, careless house training procedures, pampering, and improper discipline, to just name a few potential problems, can get the relationship off to a rocky start and lead to serious problems later on. Since it is reasonable to assume that this puppy will be an intimate part of your life for the next 10 to 15 years, you should put serious thought and effort into these first few days in order to establish a sound framework for your future. With this in mind, let us take a detailed look at your pup's first few days with you. During this time, the guiding principle should be to minimize unnecessarily stressful experiences and to establish a natural rhythm to which your puppy can easily adjust. Since there is so much to remember, having a clear set of guidelines will help bring order and understanding to a potentially chaotic period and reduce stress for you and your puppy. The following suggestions will get you and your dog off to a good start, one that will appreciate in months and years to come. In my beginning is my end.
I like their approach so far. It's very reassuring but stern.
Yep.
There's no bullshit in here.
No, it's straightforward, right? Like, they're understanding this is going to be great, right? There's so much excitement. There is such a, like, listen, like, everybody that sees a puppy, they're cute little freaking things, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard not to look at them and think that way, right? But I loved the part of I don't know exactly where it was. Something about like enthusiasm.
Yeah. When it fades away, the nostalgia.
Yeah, I can't. There's too many words in this book for me to find it. But the idea that, like, enthusiasm on its own is not enough. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
You could be excited about something and you could be prepared for something, get yourself all motivated, right? Yep. But that alone will not cause you to be successful. It's like these people that become addicted to the vice of motivational content, right? People that love watching the Gary V's and the Tony Robbins and all these guys, get them all hyped up, right? And like every day you wake up, you watch the video and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm ready to take on the world, right? But unless you plan and prepare for what that's going to look like post that, enthusiasm and motivation without direction doesn't do you any good.
True.
Right? Mm-hmm. So you got to find that balance. And that's where it's like, okay, cool, this is going to be exciting. But those first 3, 4, 5, 10 days in your house are so critical for this dog, right?
Yeah.
It's like any relationship you develop. When you meet a new person, you are developing a relationship that's built on rules, that's built on like a mutual respect for each other, right? And making sure nobody's overstepping boundaries and this and that. And it's our job to teach that to this new dog. It's not our job to just stick him in the house and be like, here's 2 weeks to just acclimate to the home. Because guess what the dog is going to do? The dog's going to make up their own rules and boundaries.
Yep.
For as young as they are still capable of doing all of those different things. You got to be aware of that. So, getting back to the book here. At the breeders, a puppy should be adopted only when someone can stay with him most of the time during the first week to promote house training and socialization. This may mean sacrificing a week of vacation. However, the long-term benefits make it worthwhile. Speak with the breeder in advance and arrange to pick up your puppy on the morning of the first day of a long weekend or planned vacation. This will allow the puppy to spend most of the first day with you and will hasten his adjustments to both you and your home. That's a big one right off the rip. I talk about house training a lot, right?
Yeah.
With puppies. And I would say I've seen people get past house training literally within weeks of getting a dog for the most part. And I've seen people struggle with it for years with dogs. And the number one key is setting that structure right away where you're not putting the dog in positions to have accidents and have issues. So taking the time to treat that first week, very, very importantly. That's why we talk about board and trains, right? Taking a board and train home, we say that first week is the most important time back because you're reestablishing all of that stuff. You're reestablishing the rules and the socialization and everything. Ask your breeder not to give the puppy food or water on the morning of pickup. Most do this routinely, but it's best to confirm. Fasting will not harm the pup and reduces the likelihood that you will get car sick and vomit on the way home. Also, we advise that you bring at least one other adult with you, since it is difficult to drive and watch the puppy at the same time. If you have a long trip ahead of you, you might want to consider carrying a crate in the car. However, if you do this, you should have the breeder expose the pup to the crate several days beforehand. If your puppy has already been selected for you, you will naturally want to spend some time with him when you arrive at the breeder's. When you first meet your dog, sit or crouch down on his level and start playing with him. We like clients to take 10 or 15 minutes to make friends with a pup before we start answering particular questions and going over the necessary paperwork. This gives the owners initial excitement and anticipation to chance to subside and helps everyone pay closer attention to instructions during the interview. New owners ordinarily have lots of questions for the breeder, so it is wise to make a list of them beforehand. In addition to specific questions about the way the puppy was raised and the type of personality he possesses, in the litter as well as by himself, you should ask how he scored on his puppy aptitude test. The result will suggest specific guidelines for handling your particular pup and will help you avoid management errors during the first weeks. Make sure you get a written record of the immunizations and wormings your puppy has received. If your pup is purebred, you should also be given a copy of his pedigree and AKC registration slip. Though you may have a particular type of dog food in mind for your pup, it is always best to continue feeding the brand that the puppy is currently eating for several more days, gradually changing to the new brand. Sudden shifts in diet add stress and can lead to diarrhea or loss of appetite. If you do not plan to use the brand chosen by the breeder, ask if he can give the several days supply to help with the weaning process. The ride home. Keep the ride home as relaxed and low-key as possible, allowing whoever accompanied you to do the driving. Unless you are using a dog crate, cover your lap and the seating area next to you with a towel or old bed sheet in case the puppy gets car sick. Let the pup ride in either location and keep one hand in gentle contact with him. It is best to avoid any kind of coddling or dotting behavior, especially if the pup starts to whine, since this only reinforces whining as an attention-getting behavior. A certain amount of whimpering is to be expected. If things get too noisy, try putting the pup on the floor between your feet. The vibrations of the car often have a calming effect. Do not punish the pup for whining or vomiting. On the way home, stop periodically and let the puppy stretch his legs, but stay away from any area that is frequented by other dogs since your pup is not fully vaccinated and vulnerable to contagious diseases. Even right off the rip, talking about making sure you're not reinforcing things that you don't want. I like again, very strategic, very straightforward approach. Follow these steps.
There's no fluff here.
No fluff. Introduction to the house. When you arrive home, first take the puppy outdoors to the spot you've chosen for his soiling area.
Soiled it.
And wait for him to eliminate. Normally, after a car ride, the puppy will have to relieve himself. And when he does, be sure to praise him enthusiastically. Then bring the puppy into the house and allow him to walk around and explore, keeping an eye on him from a distance. Do not be surprised if the pup seems a little disoriented at first. Even the most outgoing puppy can experience strain or confusion in a strange environment, separated from his litter mates. Be calm and reassuring and allow the pup to adjust at his own pace. If, while exploring, the puppy shows interest in chewing something inappropriate, gently distract him by focusing his attention on a squeak toy or meat-scented nylabone. Do not discipline the pup at this time yet. Should your dog not seem interested in the toy or bone, entice him with some play-inducing gestures, such as quick clapping or rubbing your hands along the floor. If he starts to follow you around the house, encourage him, tap the side of your leg, or jingle keys if the pup is used to them, and call his name as you walk, praising him as he comes along and investigates the different rooms. During these first few days, whenever your pup begins to focus his attention on you, either to follow or simply to look up at you, say his name in a cheerful, pleasant tone that encourages him to hold eye contact. These simple dominance exercises quickly teach your pup his name while presenting you as his leader in a way that builds confidence and trust. Conclude the session by crouching down and playing with him on his level for a while. Now, I like the do not discipline the pup this time yet, only because a lot of this kind of stuff comes down to dogs will do what they're allowed. And I think in any case, before we are to discipline for something, we have to first teach them what's expected. Again, with a puppy. With an adult dog, it's going to be a little bit different because you're dealing with really strongly ingrained habits that they have. If a dog has been chewing something for 6 years, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not going to be able to just distract them and have them stop doing it. But for now, we could start to intervene only where we need to. And this is the idea, is you let them do your thing and you watch from a distance and you start to communicate your boundaries. Not through discipline, but just by setting them. Hey, don't do this. Hey, don't do this. Hey, don't do this. Right? Things that most people don't do.
Unfortunately.
Keep the introduction to your household quiet and unforced, allowing the process of bonding to develop in a relaxed and gradual manner. For the first few days, it is important not to overwhelm the puppy with visitors who are curious about the new arrival. Don't introduce your pup to friends and relatives until you are certain he has made a smooth transition, usually after 2 or 3 days. Then you may initiate a variety of important socializing experiences described later. All right, we're pausing again. Okay. What did we talk about in the socialization episode? We talked about the 3 types of socialization: environmental socialization, human socialization, dog socialization, right? Oh. Why is he recommending not having people come over in this early stage, Josh?
Because he's not ready for that socialization.
What socialization is he working on?
The environmental socialization.
That's right. And what did we say that you can't do? Two of them at once.
Can't do 2 at once.
You got to focus on one at a time if you want them to be done properly.
Yep.
Right? Environmental socialization. We are letting him get socialized to the new environment he's in, learn his rules and boundaries in that house before we smother him with affection. And I bet when we get into that part where he talks about introducing new people in, it's done in a very particular manner as well.
I think that's a huge one that people mess up all the time, too. Like,
what's the first thing? Yeah. We just got the puppy. Yeah. Come check him out.
And then every time the puppy's always like,
100%. Like, I'm in a new place. There's new people. There's new dogs. I don't know what to do. Man. Usually puppies are not interested in eating as soon as they get home, since everything is unfamiliar. Hold off feeding your pup for at least a couple hours until he has begun to settle down. Then offer him some food, and when he has finished eating, take him out to his soiling area and wait for him to eliminate.
Soiled.
Puppies typically have to urinate and or defecate following eating and drinking. Waking, short naps included, vigorous play, and chewing a bone. If the pup is not eliminated after 10 to 15 minutes, take him back into the house for several minutes and then try again. Repeat this procedure as necessary. When he does finish, praise the pup again, bring him into the house. He should now be ready for a nap.
Eliminated. I love that.
Now, we talk about this process with dogs that are having housebreaking issues, and typically it's with older dogs, obviously. And we talk about utilizing a crate, but following the same procedure. Take the dog out to go to the bathroom. If the dog does not go to the bathroom, don't just let him loose in your house.
Yeah.
That's what everybody does. And guess what the dog does? They go find a spot in the corner, and they take a big old dump on your rug. Right? Yeah. Obviously not what we want them to do. You bring them inside and you keep them within eyesight where they can't go somewhere else. In my recommendation, in this case, if it's a puppy, I would have that puppy on a leash so they can't go off and have an accident somewhere. We personally use the crate with dogs. So the idea is you bring them in for just a short period of time, you restrict their freedom a little bit, and you try again very shortly after. 5 to 10 minutes, right? That's what we always tell everybody. And you repeat that cycle for as long as it takes. Listen, you got a puppy. You got to commit to this shit. Yeah. It might take you an hour. I don't know, right? Till that dog goes outside. Then you let them hang out, right? Or you give them a nap, whichever one you want at that point, right? And the idea is what you start teaching the young dog is you start teaching, say you're using the crate. The sooner you go to the bathroom outside, the sooner you get freedom in the house. So you teach them to earn that freedom through that process.
Yeah.
Young puppies require plenty of sleep and should have several naps during the day. Choose an area that is safe for the pup when he cannot be supervised and that is not isolated from family activity. Usually the best location for this is the kitchen, since it is large enough for the dog to move around in and can be easily blocked off with 1 or 2 gates. Make sure the area is puppy-proofed for anything that could be dangerous, such as electric cords, small and chewable items, and anything made of wood. We also recommend adding a shipping crate to serve as the pup's den during the day. As described in the next chapter, throughout the early stages of house training, you will be keeping your dog alternately in either of these 2 confined areas. For this first nap, leave the door of the crate open. You could tie it so that it does not shut if the pup knocks into it, and place comfortable bedding or fake fur in the crate itself. Puppies will naturally seek the security of the den atmosphere on their own. Do not be concerned if the pup initially starts to whine in his confined area. Wait for him to relax and fall asleep, and then periodically check on him to see when he wakes. At that time, take the puppy out to his soiling area and let him eliminate. During your first few days, you'll need to pick the puppy up from time to time to help him get around. Okay, real quick, before we get into that, I personally don't like putting bedding in the crate.
Yeah.
Some people do it, some people don't do it. If you're going to do it, use like newspaper or stuff like that, you know. The reason why I don't do it is because if the dog does have an accident in the crate, which it inevitably will happen at some point, that will absorb it all. And one, you ruin your bedding that you put into it. And two, what happens is it eliminates the point of the crate, which is if they go to the bathroom in it, they are stuck needing to sit in it, which deters them from doing it again. So, you know, that's your choice, but I personally don't recommend doing that. During these first few days, you will need to pick the puppy up from time to time to get him around. Young puppies are rarely conditioned to a leash at the breeders, and it may take at least several days for the dog to be relaxed with the lead. While you should encourage a pup to walk on his own whenever possible, unfamiliar experiences such as going upstairs may initially require some help. There's a right and wrong way to pick up your puppy. Always use both hands. Place one hand between the forelegs and support the chest, and the other behind the thighs to support the rear. This ensures that he's perfectly balanced and unable to wiggle free. Never pick up a puppy by his front legs alone, since this could dislocate his shoulder, or by the scruff of his neck, which could be traumatizing. Also, puppies sometimes solicit attention by approaching their owners and whining. A good response to this is occasionally to pick the pup up and pet him briefly, making eye contact at the same time. This reinforces the positive dominance of the owner and is an effective way of having your pup tune into you. I don't recommend doing that. Don't reinforce your puppy whining.
Yeah.
See, this is where you get into, again, just like with Caesar, more dated things that they do. A lot of conversation about eye contact being dominating and like things like that. I think we kind of have gotten past that in the dog world a little bit. I don't necessarily know if that is the case. But the dog will try to do that, and typically I recommend just ignoring it or potentially giving the dog a chance to go to the bathroom outside. It is not uncommon for people adopting a puppy to already have an older dog in their household. If this is the case for you, then you need to think through clearly how you will introduce your new pup to your older dog. Simply assuming that the two will get along is inviting disaster. First, we assume that you have a fairly good idea of how your older dog interacts with both other dogs and puppies, and that he has been social and playful in such interactions. Not all dogs like puppies. Pups can be extremely demanding of attention, jumping on and nipping at an older dog. They often lack boundaries and manners, which can sometimes provoke sudden aggression in an older dog. Since such an outburst can cause serious harm, even death to a small pup, it is possible to go into this with your eyes wide open. If you have seen your older dog show aggression towards puppies, you should not introduce a new pup into your household. Forego the temptation and be content with one dog. Similarly, if your dog is elderly with arthritis or dysplasia and has to contend with chronic pain, you will need to closely monitor the new pup's interaction with him. While it is true that a pup can sometimes rejuvenate an older dog's spirit, this isn't always the case. He may not enjoy the playful pestering of a young puppy. So bringing a new puppy into the house, we do work with a lot of people that have dogs that may not have been the most social with other dogs in the past.
Yeah.
And usually what I say is that's not a determining factor as far as not getting a puppy, but that older dog is probably going to need a little bit of training first, and that introduction is going to have to be done in a very specific manner. I think there's something to be said about dogs that say have dog aggression issues, right? Once they realize that this new dog is a part of the household, right, and is not going away, they tend to get used to it pretty quickly, where I've seen dogs with really serious dog aggression issues successfully be able to coexist with other dogs in the same house if it's done properly, right?
Yeah.
But you would need, obviously, professional help with that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get in their heads like, oh, I did fine with this dog. This will be fine. And then
puppies are different, though.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, they're annoying little creatures.
Yeah.
They can piss off older dogs like nobody's business.
Exactly.
All right. On the first day, if your older dog has not traveled with you to the breeders, plan on introducing him to the puppy on safe, neutral ground. Pick a spot off your property that is not frequented by many dogs and that will not evoke the territorial behavior of the older animal. We like remote and spacious parking lots. Make sure that both your older dog and puppy are leashed and that two adults are monitoring the interaction. Let them sniff each other, and then assuming all is well, praise the elder dog and take both for a walk, allowing the older dog to gradually adjust to the presence of the new puppy. Be particularly watchful for any sort of behavior that would indicate aggression. If you see any problems, redirect the older dog's attention off the pup and onto yourself, and have the other adult guide your pup gently away. Think of this encounter as getting into a hot bath. You should be patient and slow, trusting in the fact that the dogs can more easily adjust to each other when they are moving in the same direction. Now, I don't mind doing this off property. The one thing I would say is if you're going to do it on leash, which I don't mind you doing it on leash because, again, the leash is not necessarily the problem. You have to make sure there's no tension on the leash. So typically I would recommend dragging the leash in an enclosed area because we want the leash on for safety, and that's why they're recommending having this done, but you don't want to make sure you're adding any tension to it that will create problems. I also would just leave the dog be if they did well. I would not be petting or praising. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
As you walk, you will notice some brief, natural moments of interaction that will help sensitize the older dog to the puppy and encourage a more relaxed attitude. When the encounter becomes even and relaxed, put each dog in a separate crate and drive them to your home. Walk them into the yard together, again allowing the older dog to get accustomed to the presence of the new puppy. See if the puppy will eliminate as you walk around the yard. If the interaction stays positive and there aren't any aggressive or fearful responses, drop the pup's leash and allow the two to explore the yard together. Make sure that you don't let the older dog get too playful and knock the puppy over. Keep things controlled. When you're ready to go into the house, allow your older dog to be first through the door, with the puppy following. Then place your new pup in a gated area. During the next week, remove all toys from open spaces to discourage any kind of possessiveness, and feed the dogs separately, preferably with the puppy in a crate. That one is key. You don't want to create any sort of resource issues early on. In the coming months, you will always need to supervise play. While puppies grow fast, they still can be easily overwhelmed by a larger dog. It is important that you are there to monitor interactions, particularly when play starts to get a bit rough. Gradually, with proper handling, you will find the older dog and the pup becoming not only adjusted to each other, but fast friends. I remember Jake, when he got this new puppy one time. I think the dog was like playing with Ty or something. Do you remember this? I don't know if you would remember this or not.
I don't think so.
And something happened. They were running, playing. I think Ty was chasing a ball and was like got too rough with the puppy and literally broke the puppy's leg. Like,
oh god,
like jumped on this puppy as a Malinois puppy and the leg snapped. He had to go have like immediate surgery and stuff on it. It was stupidly expensive.
Oh god,
it was like a whole thing of like rehabilitation after it and stuff like that. Though you want them to interact, obviously, you do have to understand how fragile some of these puppies are with some of that kind of stuff, you know, with their development, growth.
Exactly.
All right, moving forward, we'll finish out this chapter here. The first night. The first night a puppy spends away from his littermates is often traumatic for owner and puppy alike. The pup's incessant whining and squealing, relentless inability to sleep, and need to eliminate can all contribute to making your initial night together miserable. Yep. In the face of such disturbances, you may be tempted simply to isolate the pup in a basement or far corner of the house and deal with the consequences the next morning. We hope that you will not do this. It only compounds the pup's sense of isolation and may make it difficult to teach him to be alone in the future. It is helpful to understand that when a puppy becomes anxious during the first night, he is reacting naturally, according to a separation reflex. In the wild, when a wolf pup is separated from his pack, he becomes highly emotional and begins to whine, bark, or howl. This is instinctive behavior that helps reunite the pup with his pack, which is essential if he is to survive. This same instinct is at work in your dog. The best method we have found to prevent night trauma is to let your puppy sleep in your bedroom on an old blanket or a dog bed, tethered next to your mattress. This works because the pup will want the security of being with you. We prefer this to using the crate, since most puppies will not be used to it in the first evening and will tend to make a lot of noise. Before retiring, you should take your puppy out to eliminate and walk him around the backyard for a while, giving him a chance to get a little tired. When you're ready to go to sleep, tether the pup with a leash and place him on his beddings so that he is right next to you. This does two things. First, it helps the pup adjust to you as part of this new pack. In a 7-hour block of time, the pup continuously smells you, listens to your breathing, and accepts the security of your leadership. Second, it prevents the puppy from getting up in the middle of the night to eliminate away from his bed. Remember, puppies ordinarily will not soil in their sleeping area. As we have said, it is normal to expect some whining the first night. Should the pup start to do so, reach down and quiet him without a fuss. Do this calmly, soothing him at first. If the whining persists, a gentle scruff shake along with a low, "No, go to sleep," may be necessary. See Chapter 17 for more details. Do not put the puppy in bed with you. The pup will become to expect this, and the practice can lead to a number of behavior problems later in life. If the pup has been quiet for several hours and then begins to whine, he probably has to go out. Dealing with all of this is part of being a new parent. Expect the process to repeat itself for the first few nights. As soon as you rise in the morning, get dressed quickly and take your pup immediately to his soiling area. Let him empty completely. Puppies will sometimes eliminate several times first thing in the morning. When he is finished, praise him cheerfully and return to the house.
I was going to say, what do you think about all that?
I don't have a problem with it. So listen, the idea of tethering next to the bed. So the purpose of the crate is to keep the dog confined,
Yeah.
right? So they get used to they can't get up and just have free reign of the house and all this
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
exactly.
Personally, since I like the crate, I usually tell owners, you got to just tough it out for the first couple of days, stick that dog in a crate.
Yeah, that's what
Get
we
them
did.
used to it. You know, like, again, I'm sure they're really breaking this down in a way where it's going to make it as successful as possible. Because listen, doing that first night, you could have a really miserable night, like you were saying, right?
Yeah,
that dog could be whining
Yeah.
up a damn storm. But listen, you're going to have to tackle that eventually. And I really do think that at some point, when you do go to introduce the crate, you're still going to see it one way or another. So just get it out of the way first couple nights.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, just get it done.
Yeah.
You know? And then, yeah, obviously, I do like the idea. I typically recommend keeping the crate in the bedroom. Not for any reason other than it makes it a little easier for the first couple days. Listen, I mean, I think your dog needs to get used to sleeping elsewhere, but you want them to make that transitional process fairly smoothly because the crate is going to be a big adjustment for them.
Yep.
And if you could introduce them to the crate in a way that makes it a little smoother, then you could incrementally change the location to make it harder later. Mm-hmm. All right. Last part here. Trip to the veterinarian. For as long as your puppy lives with you, he will require periodic veterinarian care for routine shots and checkups, treatment for minor illnesses, and possibly emergency health care. All will mean trips to your veterinarian. Your puppy's first experience at the vet clinic is important, since it often leaves a lasting impression. An initial visit marked by a traumatic negative experience will most likely establish a pattern, making future vet visits repeatedly unpleasant. This is one of the most common behavioral complaints we receive from clients. Usually the problem is deeply ingrained, going back to puppyhood. You could avoid such issues by making your pup's first visit to your veterinarian as pleasant and non-traumatic as possible. Schedule an appointment for the day after you adopt your puppy so that he could receive a thorough health examination and any required vaccinations. Ask if it is possible to bring your puppy at the beginning of clinic hours, since it is not a good idea for your pup to sit in a waiting room with other people and their possibly sick pets. Having not yet received the full cycle of vaccinations, your puppy is still vulnerable for infection. Be sure to take a fresh stool sample with you to be examined for parasites. Worms are a common problem. Often puppies require several treatments to show a parasite-free stool sample. Make the visit itself calm and cheerful. Praise your puppy gently as he is examined, and especially afterwards. Keep a happy demeanor and a pleasant tone of voice. Do not be overly sympathetic or indulgent. If your pup gets upset, this will only reinforce whiny, spoiled behavior. Simply try to distract him with playful gestures. You want your pup to form a happy, enjoyable association with the experience. One important subject to discuss with your veterinarian is microchipping your puppy. Each year, millions of dogs go missing, and according to the American Humane Society, only 17% are reunited with their owners. The vast majority of lost dogs are either adopted by new owners or euthanized. Microchipping is the means of equipping your pet with permanent identification that can seriously reduce the dog's chances of being lost. This is not a subject to take lightly. The procedure is very straightforward. A microchip consists of a tiny computer chip housed in a small glass capsule about the size of a grain of rice. It is implanted between the dog's shoulder and is not a painful procedure. Many pups don't seem to feel a thing. Once implanted, the chip must be registered in the microchip company's database, ordinarily for a reasonable one-time fee. It can then be read by a scanner that most veterinarians and animal shelters possess. Should your dog become lost, the possibility of quick recovery increases dramatically. In the best of all possible worlds, leashes, fences, and doors would be adequate to safely contain our dog, and microchipping would be more of a high-tech luxury. But statistics don't lie. Accidents do happen, dogs get lost, and microchipping is a big step forward in reuniting them with their owners. If you have a new puppy or plan to adopt one soon, you should consider this option. Another important topic to be aware of when you see your veterinarian involves the issue of spaying and neutering. There's a lot of controversy in the dog community about when might be the best time to spay and neuter your dog. 6 months of age used to be the routine recommendation based on the supposed health and behavior benefits. For example, spaying prior to the female's first season does reduce the risk of mammary cancer. And early neutering appears to psychologically dispose the dog to remain in a more permanent juvenile state, something that can be very desirable to pet owners because it helps promote a more positive long-term experience with your dog. Studies have shown, however, that there are health risks associated with early neutering. Further, hormonal maturities adds to bone density and reduces the likelihood of various orthopedic disorders. And while many pet owners value a more juvenile sort of temperament, those oriented towards serious training prefer the extra boldness and confidence of a dog who is not neutered or spayed too early. So when is the right time to spay or neuter? This is not a question about black and white absolute answer. Then clients ask us about this. We tend to take our cues from the current state of the dog's temperament. If we're dealing with a highly spirited, challenging dog, we might advise the client to trade additional bone density for the benefits of more juvenile psychological state. The owner will likely be able to live more peacefully with the dog long term. On the other hand, if the dog lacks confidence or is manifestly juvenile or submissive by temperament, we may recommend waiting until a heat has passed, assuming the owners can be trusted to keep their pup under control at all times and not to breed her, or until a male reaches 12 to 18 months of age. So for us, the answer to our question of when to spay or neuter depends on the specific dog rather than a universal guideline. Chapter 11 is going to be house training and preliminary obedience exercises. So that's where we start getting into the juice.
Yep.
The juice. How you train the dog.
I didn't know they had microchipping back then.
Yeah, I actually didn't really either.
Yeah.
Some of this may be new stuff added in recently because, like I said, they revised this book. I know.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's like, I didn't even hear about it until
Crazy,
late
right?
2010s. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had it when I remember I first got Vera, so like 9 years ago, whatever it was. But, yeah. So solid book.
Yeah.
We're going to start digging into this one next year, obviously. I think this is going to be a fun topic to get into. I think they got a lot of good insight on it. We're going to talk about. What do you think?
I think it's good so far. I think there's a couple of things we differ on already, but for the most part, it's a pretty solid book.
Any of this stuff just comes into, again, like when you have a book that was written
30 years ago.
30 years ago, like obviously there's going to be things that are updated, and they obviously didn't go through and rewrite the entire book. So I would bet a lot of these things that they differ on at this point. But I think it's still good. It's a good one. So we're going to get into this more. Like I said, goal here is let's start avoiding some of these problem behaviors, Let's start avoiding some of these things that, just that first day, that outline of the first day, right? First day through first night. If you were to start following that just to a T, you would already be further ahead than most people because 99% of people, they let the dog sleep in the bed or they try to crate the dog and let the dog out when they whine. They coddle to all the dog's behaviors. They let the dog run around and chew shit and have accidents in the house. You know what I mean? Like it's just a whole damn mess, Or if you could set that tone right that first day. Yeah. And notice, none of that really said cuddle with your dog, sit on the couch with them, do all of these different fun, high-energy games with them. That whole first day was super, super strategically planned to avoid issues and set boundaries.
Yep.
That's it.
Exactly.
Right? You are teaching from the second that dog gets into your house.
Yeah.
And you got to understand that. So
you got to stop it before it starts.
Stop it before it starts. So I like it. I got to go take my dogs to the vet, so we're about to wrap this up. But this is a good one. We're going to get more into that next time, and we'll go from there. Dobe.
Big thing. He said it earlier, but we are moving everything from the YouTube channel that is the David the Dog Trainer podcast to Miracle Canine Training. Probably won't really affect many people because it's a brand new channel. It hadn't grown a whole lot, but we're hoping that it will get more traction that way. So if you're looking for it, make sure you go to Miracle Canine Training's YouTube channel. That's where we're going to start everything. I might just make a little video and saying, hey, this is the last video.
That's probably a good idea.
Over there.
Yeah,
I'll make something like that. So anyway, you can find me at Josh Dobey Productions on Instagram and joshdobeyproductions.com on my website.
You could find me at the David the Dog Trainer Instagram page and Miracle Canine Training on Instagram and the miracleCanineTraining.com.
There it is.
Except there's no the. I said the a couple times there. It's just Miracle Canine Training and just David the Dog Trainer.
Yes.
That's it. Have a good one. Catch you later.
Bye.